My name is Mike Mountjoy, 35 years old. I'm into computers, video games, Magic, D&D, Munchkin. I have a 6-year-old daughter named Layla. Shaun is the uncle. I work security and I do repairs at a batting cage, laser tag, indoor family entertainment center place. For kindergarten, I went to a school called the Nokia. It was a private school up in Upper Arcadia. And for first grade, I went to a Catholic school. I don't know why, but that's where I went. I don't know the name of it. From second grade through 8th, I went to Rio Hondo Elementary in El Monte School District. For high school, I went to Arroyo High School. Well, I was in special education from about second grade on. I didn't really know that I had it till I was in high school. It was the first time somebody used that terminology. Well, for me, it affects my spelling. I spell phonetically. If I don't know exactly how to spell a word, if I just try and spell a word the way I spell it the way it sounds. Just even with like writing, typing, all that stuff, unless I'm really worked up, really amped up, it's like really hard for me to get my thoughts across on paper. But if I get all like rawr, then it just kind of flows out like it's like a dam breaking open and it's just all flooding out. Orally, I can sit there and tell you a story. I can read a book or watch a movie and tell you about it to the point where you're like, thanks, don't need to see it now. As far as reading's concerned, that's not an issue at all. I read all the time. My brain compensates. In fact, there's times where I've read books and I've picked out grammatical errors, spelling errors, stuff that I wouldn't put in my own writing just because my brain doesn't think about it. But when I'm reading, my brain processes it. And there was one in the Twilight book. If you have an original copy, there's a typo on page 9, and my brain caught that, and it was just like I couldn't get past that line until I made sure, no, it's not me, it's the book. Educationally, it would be like the biggest because it's just, everybody wants you to write everything out, and that's such a chore for me. When I was in college, I was going to be a firefighter, and I was taking my EMT class, and you have to spell everything perfectly, every single bone in the human body. And that was just like, yeah, right. My writing is horrible. I write huge, and it's just I've never had good handwriting. Cursive, all that stuff is just non-legible most of the time. I mean, they just put you in RSP, resource specialist program was what I was in, and you go out of class for that subject that they feel you need help in, and you go over and take that class. When you get to high school level, then they have specific classes for that. They have RSP English, RSP history, science. I was in regular math classes, regular science classes. They would let me, give me extra time on certain projects that had to be written out or whatever, but for the most part, I could do that stuff. I feel that they could have done things better because in regular class, it would have been like I was drowning. In RSP, it was like I was the golden boy, the valedictorian of the RSP program. Like there were times where the teachers would like kind of give me that nod, like, don't answer, don't raise your hand. Well, it's like I graduated with a 3.5 GPA, and that's, but that again was mostly A pluses for PE because of sports, and I got a D once in auto shop. But other than that, all my classes were A's and B's. They would have all been different if I was in regular classes. Yeah, I like to think that I'm intelligent. If I watch somebody do something, I can then do it, which is really weird because I can't do it if I watch a YouTube video for some reason. But if I physically watch you take a computer apart, I can then take the computer apart and put it back together. History has always been something that, I've been really good at because I just remember the stuff, especially the stuff that really interests me. It just kind of burns into my brain and I can throw it out. I don't think there's really a proper way to judge for intelligence because everybody's different. Some of the stuff on the IQ test, is reading and writing and this and that. Well, if you're bad at those things, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not intelligent. You're just bad at those things. It's like somebody that's bad at math, or doesn't have logic thinking, you wouldn't pass those parts of the like putting the puzzle together as part of an IQ test. Well, there's people that just suck at putting puzzles together. Can't figure it out. Does it mean they're dumb? No, they're just not good at putting puzzles together. When I was at Rio Hondo, I was in 2nd grade, Miss Hernandez's class, did that whole year. Moved on to 3rd grade, I was in Mrs. Graham's 3rd grade class. And then at around Halloween time, I was removed from 3rd grade and placed back into 2nd grade. So at that time, I didn't really feel too much of the othering. I mean, there were kids that were like, oh, why aren't you in our class anymore or whatever. But then it was when the 3rd graders moved on to 4th grade. Now they were on a different playground, different lunch times. So all my friends were gone. Then throughout the rest of it, it's just normal bowling. Like, oh, you're in special education. Oh, you're a tool, whatever. It's more of an issue for me today than it was back then, because now everything is, let's text message, let's IM, let's not be, humans and talk to each other anymore. And that drives me nuts. Like my daughter's mom always wants to talk and text. And I can't get my point across half the time. So I want to call her. Well, it's vice versa for her. She doesn't like talking as much, and it's kind of unfair if we're talking face to face versus texting. When I meet someone, when I start talking to someone new, if I start talking to a new girl, every way that you communicate with people nowadays is through text message. And it's like, you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm stupid and don't know how to spell when you're talking to somebody new, And professionally, I work around it. I have ways that I've worked around it. If I am having to write something out that I need to write out, I have a couple friends that I'll call and be like, hey, how do I spell this? Or how should I word this or whatever? One of them being the person that's interviewing me. At my job, I work on pitching machines. Never touched a pitching machine before in my life. Watched my boss do it one time, and now I'm the guy that does it, and I know it better than he does. The hardest part is just certain jobs, I guess, nowadays. I mean, once I was out of school, it wasn't an issue. It's the job that it affected it the most for me was I worked for Blizzard on World of Warcraft. Constantly, all day long, you're sitting there typing back to people that are having issues with the game. I had a list of words that I constantly use on a daily basis that I would spell wrong all the time. And I'd have to look at my list when I'm typing that out. So yeah, I had a lot of macroed responses that were pre-typed out that, insert macro A. I don't know if my daughter has it. I didn't really know I had it until I was in high school, and so that's what somebody called it. And then as I got older, I Googled it. I've seen some of the things my daughter does. Some of the way my daughter acts is exactly like me. Her writing is like mine. She writes really big, sloppy, and I try and work on her with that. I try and make her focus and put the effort into writing correctly, but it's just, even with me, I have to sit and focus to write letters correctly. As far as helping her, I mean, I can teach her what I do to compensate. I don't know if there's better things than what I do or not. I mean, most people, I don't think have ever even heard of it. I remember one time I started talking to this lady online. She was a special education teacher, and she didn't even know what dysgraphia was. Because she's a teacher. She's like, what's up with your writing? While we were IMing each other, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I have dysgraphia. And then she looked it up online, and then she's like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that existed, and I think one of my students might have this, because everything that I'm reading is like exactly like him. But yeah, I mean, most people, if I tell somebody I have dysgraphia, they're like, you mean dyslexia? No, dysgraphia. Look it up.